You're joining the Loudr Lawyer Network, the podcast where we sit down with the law firm owners, attorneys, and visionaries that are making the most noise in the legal landscape nationwide to find out the secrets to their success. Other podcasts think they're getting loud, but we're getting louder. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Loudr Lawyer Network, where we help attorneys scale to $1 million months through powerful strategies and connections. And my guest today is Alex Weatherby from the Weatherby Law Firm. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, doing good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You back there, and you're in Georgia, right?
Yeah, we're down in Atlanta. It feels like a good Atlanta day today. Fairly hot for the springtime, but it's nice. How about you? Where are you at?
I'm in San Diego right now, so I'm between
okay.
San Diego and LA. But I'm in. It's a great day out, sky. As you can see behind me, it's kind of bright because the clouds are there. So you got that big reflection behind me. So
yeah,
normally you can see palm trees back there, but I don't know if it's whited out a little bit.
Yeah,
but
well, San Diego, I feel like that's one of the heaven places on earth, right? I've never been, but that's like it's 70 all the time. Is that?
Oh man, it's 70. Like, you know, we barely get any rain. When we do get rain, it pours down hard. So
That's great.
Yeah, man. So I'm so happy to have you on. I saw you just put out let me start first by saying I saw that you put out a letter. You have a newsletter that just came out in May,
Yeah.
right? Open it up, and I found your story really interesting because you didn't want to be a lawyer. And it was through your dad, plumbing, and you saw how he was helping people, servicing people. And what I found really about that, you being first generation college, right? College,
Yeah.
and becoming an attorney. But you saw how your dad worked in servicing people, and you noticed, I don't know how old you were, we'll get into that you needed a license to do that and law, you know, to be able to service people and help them solve problems. And I found that just very on point, spot on.
Yeah.
Take me back to the moment before you became an attorney. What motivated you, and where that turn went?
Yeah. Okay. So, you brought up a few kind of interesting things there. The first part of your comment was, I'm glad you read my newsletter. I have a monthly newsletter that goes out to clients, and then I post it on social media too. And it's kind of personal. We talk about things as a human, like we all are.
Yes.
So that we can relate to our clients on that real individual level. A lot of times with lawyers, it's all one-sided. The client comes to you and they've got some major problem, and you get to stand, anointed on high, like you're not an actual human with problems yourself. So it's nice to be able to talk about life. And so the first article that you mentioned in that was about sort of why I decided to become a lawyer. And, I didn't have a family of lawyers. And now that I am a lawyer, a lot of times you meet a person and they're a second or third generation attorney. Their grandfather was an attorney in town, and that's really special for them, but it's different than my story. I'm a first generation college grad, first generation lawyer. My dad is a plumbing contractor in Atlanta. And the positive spin on it is that I learned how to help people and decided to do something different. The other spin on it is digging ditches in the hot Georgia sun will also teach you that there's got to be a different way to make a living, So
did you say you dug ditches?
Oh yeah. We used to, when you put in slabs, you would be digging ditches. Now there would also be, a tractor operator would be helping, and he'd be pulling it back, and you'd be leveling it off, because you can't have, when you're doing a house, you can't even have a small drop in your drain system, or you'll have a belly in a pipe, and so you won't. So you're constantly going through and measuring that and making sure that it's correct. But through working for my dad, one thing that he always instilled in me was that when you have a license, you're able to help people. They give licenses in life that people can help in a unique way. And that's why I ultimately decided to become a lawyer, because it is a license to help people when they have got legal troubles. And so what I use it for now is being a personal injury lawyer. So I help them when they've got an injury or a death in the family due to somebody else's negligence. Then I'm able to come in and help them make life better.
Right. I saw you going right into that. I saw doing research, I was able to look at, you've had some significant cases, some challenging ones, but the words that come from people talking about you not having sympathy, but having empathy, having yourself being there, you're compassionate, and just seeing these individuals, some of them teary-eyed, through some of the most catastrophic, things that can happen, and death being like the final curtain, and how you've been able to, bring some type of, the other thing I liked about, you don't talk about settlements, you talk about resolution. I thought that to be a very sound term for you to use in how you describe your cases.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. And I think that there are a number of testimonials on the website from some of our clients. And it was, when we recorded that, it was pretty emotional for me even, because, every day we get up and we go to work, and a lot of it as a lawyer is a lot of paper pushing, a lot of research, a lot of argument. And sometimes you can lose the forest from the trees. And that day really brought it in perspective, because ultimately it is all about people. And our motto is make life better for people in personal injury cases. And that's what we try to do. So, folks will come to us with very tragic things. I remember one of the first cases that somebody came to me for. I was actually, at the time, I was a defense lawyer, and I defended very large companies in personal injury cases. And I got a call from a gentleman named Barry, and he called and said, my nephew was killed in Atlanta while walking across the street by a car, and I'd like your help. And he left me a voicemail. And I almost didn't even call him back, because I did no advertising, no podcast, no nothing for someone to find me. And I was like, how would this guy ever find me? This has got to be a fraud. Well, Barry was an attorney. And so I looked him up and I verified, okay, he is a member of the Ohio State Bar. He's a real person. Like, I'm not going to call him back on the number he left. I'm going to call him back on his bar telephone in case there's somebody trying to pull one over on me. Right. So I called him back and he answered. And, he said, I need you to represent my nephew in this. He was killed. He's actually a homeless person at the time. And he had another law firm that kind of didn't think much of that. It didn't see the fact that Barry's nephew, Mark, was a whole person that was in a bad spot. So we got the case, we filed it, we fought for him, and we were able to resolve the case for something that changed their family's position in life.
Wow. And
after that case, he sent me a letter, and I can remember it said on there, like, Jesus sent me to you. And he's now a pastor, Barry is.
Wow.
And he'll still say that, that like God sent him to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what sent him to me, because it wasn't Google or anything else. I mean, I don't know how he found me.
It's all God, man.
It was wild. And so that case, once I had that case and I saw how much it made a difference to Barry and his family, I decided that I wanted to make life better for injured people. And it took me years to transition from being a full defense lawyer to being a full plaintiff's lawyer. But that's what I do now. I just represent injured people.
Right. I saw, have to do my research. I saw also that you, one of the phrases, you have a D good lawyer.
Right. Yeah.
I saw the little asterisk, but
right.
People talk about you're gonna have to have a darn good lawyer if if you expect to win and do this. And the term there is just write down, roll up the sleeves, and just getting to work. It just seems like that's the type of spirit and presence that God has put inside of you. And take me back to, you talked about used to represent attorneys who had malpractice suits against them, right? For how they practice law. Walk me through that a little bit. How did that help shape the type of attorney you are today?
When I first came out of law school, it was 2010. Mm-hmm. And that was still a tough time for the economy and for professional jobs at the time. We were coming out of the recession from 2008. And so I wanted to go work for a large law firm. That was kind of my goal. Most of those jobs dried up. And so I ended up actually moving back in with my parents after law school. So first generation college grad and law school grad back at home. And that was a hard time. And I started applying for every job you can imagine. I mean, any type of law job that was out there, I'd be like, yes, I'm ready to do it. I'll be an immigration lawyer one day. I'll be a criminal lawyer the next day, whatever, just give me a job. And I ended up getting a job with a wonderful gentleman and lawyer named Emery Palmer. And he's now a judge. And what he did is he defended lawyers who got sued in legal malpractice cases. And it was never something I'd thought about doing, but it was the perfect way to learn how to be a lawyer, because you were able to get inside a bunch of different types of law practices because you're defending the lawyer. You're able to get inside a bunch of different types of law. So I've defended personal injury lawyers, divorce lawyers, corporate lawyers, bond lawyers, all different types. And you have to learn the case within the case. So within about 5 years of doing that, I had practiced in a lot of different areas through that. And I had seen how different law firms were set up and where things went bad and where they went right. And so that kind of set me up to be able, I think, to be a better lawyer. And one thing that we would say when we were on, that defense side at the time is, whenever we were talking about other lawyers, we'd say, "Oh man, he's a hell of a lawyer," or he's a damn good lawyer. And that's kind of where that phrase came from that now I sort of sometimes use in my advertising, because it's sort of a phrase that lawyers will use talking to each other about, is this person a formidable foe or not? Kind of colloquially. So yeah, that was, it was a really interesting beginning to the career. It was not one that I imagined doing. And once Emery ran and became judge, I switched to doing what I do now.
Very nice. So you've been in practice. You got in practice in the middle of COVID. 2021 is when you opened up your firm, right?
Correct.
So was it personal? You hadn't touched personal injury before that, or
I had. So Emery goes to be a judge probably around 2013 or 2014. I'd practiced with him like 3 or 4 years, something like that. And he ran to be a judge. And then I went to work for his law partner, a guy named Pitts Carr. And Pitts had kind of a hybrid practice. So we did some legal mal-defense, but not nearly as much. Majority of what we did is we defended large companies in personal injury suits with a particular focus on truck accident cases. And that's the majority of what we did. And then we would do some high-end plaintiff's work if it happened to walk in the door, like Barry's case. And I worked with him from about 2013 to 2021, and he was a hell of a lawyer. And he taught me a lot about how to practice law and how to put together cases, put pressure where it needs to be applied. And once COVID happened, at that time, he was an older gentleman, so he decided he didn't want to work remote. That was pretty challenging. And then I decided to open up my own law firm. Still, even then, I did a hybrid. I knew I wanted to make life better for injured people, but I needed to take stepping stones to do that. So I opened in 2021, and then, sorry, this is my daughter coming home.
Hey,
I told you she'd come home.
Your dogs. I saw.
Yeah,
you got two little pups.
Got two little pups. Yeah, and my daughter just got home, so they're greeting.
Oh, that's fine, man. Just keep flowing.
So, anyways, till about 2021. I opened up my firm, and then till about 2023 or 4, I was doing both hybrid, working for the defense and plaintiffs. And then eventually I was able to build the plaintiffs practice up enough to now that's all I do is work on injured people's cases.
Right. Tell me what the difference was. And so when you were defending companies on the other side of the aisle, if you will, there's plaintiffs that are trying to get resolution. How did you manage that conflict?
Well, I've now realized that I was a much different defense lawyer than most defense lawyers. I still wanted to resolve cases, when I was on the defense side. I wanted to settle the cases as fast and efficiently as possible for my clients so they could move on to the next thing and close their book. What I've seen is that on the plaintiff side now, a lot of defense lawyers don't work quite like that. So a lot of them do, but some of them I feel like are so overworked that they're just trying to put out fires in front of them one after the other, which makes resolving cases a little bit harder. So at the time when I was a defense lawyer, now I would try to pay the cases that we needed to pay and fight the cases we needed to fight till we could get a resolution that made sense for everyone. And I would still try to do it as fast and efficiently as possible.
I'm looking at you as you're talking. I'm looking at what you've done, what you've accomplished, your professional honors. You are best truck lawyers in Atlanta enterprise.com in 2022. You were a super lawyer and a rising star from 2018 to 23. Top 20 car accident verdicts in the United States, the topverdict.com in 2018. I think that's where you settled one of the biggest cases in the nation. Your top 30 lawyers to watch in 2018, Attorney Law Magazine, top 40 under 40 trial lawyer, national trial lawyer 2018. You have an ABLE rating of 10 out of 10. And then you got the William King Medal Award at the University of Georgia Law School in 2010. So, I mean, you are that. It's like a doctor coming out of Harvard that has all the points in the right ways, and they settle into their like neurosurgery or things of that nature, Rhodes Scholars, if you will. You seem to have that kind of. Tell me, what kind of pressure was that, and how does that make you feel hearing about the accolades that you're doing? Because I know you're not doing it for that, but to be recognized.
It's always hard to be recognized for things. I was at a crawfish boil this last weekend with a buddy, and I was meeting a gentleman, and he's a general counsel for a very large company. there's three people talking and we're talking about what we do. And I'm like, I'm a trial lawyer. I do, help injured people. And he's like, oh, I'm a general counsel. I'm not a real lawyer like Alex. And my immediate response was, I'm not a real lawyer either. That's what I said. Because it's hard to hear things, that you've done. Right. And so it is nice. And I put the accolades out there because I want people that can need my help to know I can help them. But I don't cherish them. I don't cherish the accolades that much. What I really want to do is put out the information that there are different types of lawyers, and there's other great lawyers too, in Georgia, which is my area, not just me.
Right.
But there are also a lot of really bad lawyers. And so if you have a serious case that needs attention, I want you to get with one of the damn good lawyers here, either at my firm or somewhere else. And so that's why, we try to put that stuff out there so people can make a differentiator. Like, for instance, we have 5-star reviews on Google. I love that. I try to keep it at 5 stars, and they're all legit, because and it's important to me because I want people to know that when they come, they're going to have a nice person who answers the phone and fights for them, whether it's me or another person on my team.
Right. So here you are in the middle of COVID, going into law. You're married. You're married, and as you stated earlier, your wife is in the mental health. How was it being able to balance in the middle of COVID, building up your practice, being a husband, a doting husband, a doting father, and being a doting attorney to the individuals that came forth? And how did people find you during COVID? How did that all come together?
It was an interesting time. I think COVID, for a lot of people, when you talk to them, it was one of those life events that sort of focused things where people realized that maybe what they've been doing wasn't as important or in the direction that they were going to go. And it gave them permission to switch.
Right.
And so I think that sort of happened for me too, that, what I wanted to do was have my own law firm helping people. And I was able to focus on that. COVID was hard because we had a small home, we have 2 young children. And so we were running, 2 businesses, a daycare and an elementary school out of our house. And so that was an interesting time. It was also a beautiful time when I look back on it. We would all eat lunch together every day. There was nowhere to go, out. You're cooking meals together. Sometimes I'd find myself reminiscing about that, the simplicity to life. We're very social people, so we're always out visiting friends, doing things, filling the calendar up as much as we can. And so it was nice to have that pause. And the pause allowed me to do what I'm doing now, which is helping folks, because I was able to have enough time in my schedule to realize this is what I want to do professionally. So it was a challenging time, but it also was a transition period that was worth it.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, I've just, listening to you talk right now, and you're fluid, man, in terms of how you express yourself. Like I've watched some of your YouTube moments of you talking for different problems that come up in the law, like people faking injuries and things of that nature. Just you giving that advice, and you just come across so authentic and so real. So I appreciate that. I'm right now in recovery from an accident. I got T-boned, If you was out here, you would be my attorney, man.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, no,
When did it happen?
I was T-boned driving April 17th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Man.
and they've taken responsibility and things of that nature. Right now, I'm just trying to get better. I've been injured before, and I had healed and everything. I was back being active and stuff. I'm 61 years old.
Gosh, wow. I'm gonna look like you when I'm 61.
So it's in the genes, man. You see my daddy. My daddy is 82. He's out there, Marietta. He used to be he was one of the team doctors with the Hawks, and he worked he worked with the Falcons for a bit. He did the rookie symposium in the NFL out here. And in fact, he came out to California with another doctor friend of his putting on the symposium when all the draftees happen. They have a symposium down in San Diego. So
that's awesome. Well, you look great. I know your body probably doesn't feel as good as it could.
The nerves. There's nothing like, that's why I'm drinking tea, just to stay calm and get through. But when I hear someone like you talk, it's like, and I think I found a pretty good attorney out here in California.
Good.
But those are the kind of things you want to hear. Like when I watched your clients that you represented, man, and you had a couple of national cases too, where you could really feel you could feel where they're coming from, because we've all faced drama and things, but to have someone that just steps in, that's going beyond themselves. You don't seem to be a person that's in it for the money or things of that nature, which brings me to something. The SB 68, I know that got voted in. How does that affect you moving forward?
So the SB 68 was a tort reform package that Governor Kemp pushed here in Georgia. It was very similar to the tort reform package that Governor DeSantis pushed in Florida.
Right.
And as you saw from Governor DeSantis, what happened after that is then he makes a run for president. He gets tens of millions of dollars donated from interest groups that liked that bill. I anticipate a similar thing will happen here, where Governor Kemp will run for president at the next cycle and receive those same types of donations.
Right.
Generally speaking, you can follow the money to figure out who something was for.
Mm-hmm.
So the big idea here was that it was to try to lower insurance premiums, that State Farm is not making enough money. Literally where the Hawks play is called State Farm Arena. Do you know anybody with an arena name that isn't making enough money? I mean, it's the whole concept is ludicrous.
Yes.
So what it really is about is taking injured folks and making their life worse. It's the opposite of what we do. It's making paying doctor bills harder, making proving your injuries harder, making it more expensive so that you don't want to do it. So it's not, we're going to play the game that we need to play within the rules that they set. That's the rules. We're going to play the game. And a lot of times people are smart enough to see through what's being done. And they know that, all these hoops you have to jump through are hoops there to try to prevent you from doing what needs to be done for folks.
Right. Yeah, that's a good analogy on that. Alex, if you were to, you've been in the personal injury space now a few years. How many years you been in? 7, 8?
Yeah, I've been doing personal injury work for about probably 12 years.
12 years. Okay. So with you being out there and you seeing attorneys across the way, what's the biggest myth about a PI attorney that needs to go to rest, needs to die, needs to just disappear?
The biggest myth about PI attorneys is that they're money-hungry scoundrels. And I think it's put out there primarily by insurance companies because they want to position themselves as your best friend, and this person's trying to take from you. It's actually the opposite. Now, there are folks not doing themselves any favors on the plaintiff's bar by doing ridiculous style, advertising and things like that are beyond the pale. But there's nothing wrong with a lawyer doing a nice advertisement. We've got, Geico walking around and Aflac with a duck, and Geico's got Neanderthals or whatever. Everybody's doing ridiculous things,
right,
to try to get that attention. So that's what I would say, is that the truth is that the vast majority of plaintiffs' lawyers that I've met are nice folks who want to try to do right by their clients and want to try to help you.
right.
And the vast majority of insurance companies that I've encountered want to do one thing, and that's keep more money so they can give more money to their shareholders. Nothing wrong with that. But that's the true dichotomy. It's not the other way around.
Right. I saw that you, I'm going to ask you the question early now. I'm going to skip around. I'm kind of not going to go to the end, but what is a Loudr lawyer to you? This is not the wrap up. I want to know what a Loudr lawyer, because I'm asking specifically for a reason.
Yeah. I would say a Loudr lawyer to me, if somebody just said, what's a Loudr lawyer, would be a lawyer that does something bigger than himself, that's trying to send a message that reverberates in his community. So for me and for us, I try to do that through making life better for my clients, by being a friend, a counselor, through giving back to folks in our local community, to try to make a difference, to be loud about what we're doing for people.
Yes. And with that said, I saw that during the holidays, you give free rides to encourage sober driving.
Yeah.
That stood out to me. I saw that you're with MAD. Can you tell me about that? How did that come about?
Yeah. So we had a case a few years ago that involved a smart, kind, loving mom and wife who was killed by a drunk driver. And that ended up, after years of litigation, resulting in a large verdict. And through that, I began looking at how I could help other victims of drunk driving. And so we like to donate to MAD, show up to their events when we can. They're a wonderful organization. And they do a lot more than just advocate for law changes. They do that, but they also have a lot of victim support. So if somebody has been injured by a drunk driver, had a death in the family, they can really offer a lot of assistance there, counseling, things like that, to walk alongside someone. And so then one thing that we do through that initiative too is we offer the free rides where folks can take on specified holidays, an Uber or a Lyft home, send us the receipt, and we'll send them some money.
That's big, man. That's being of service, man, beyond self, if I've ever seen it. That's what I like also about you is that you speak for the person who's no longer here, able to speak for themselves, and the care that you give the surviving members of the families, no matter what the case is. I saw one of your where you talked about one of your challenging cases that involved a young person that was died in behind bars. And I just, your demeanor, yeah, man, you're doing God's work, man.
No, I appreciate you saying
Wanted
that.
to say that personally, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah,
yeah,
well,
it stands
I do.
out.
I like helping folks in those wrongful death cases. I lost my sister a few years ago to leukemia under different circumstances, but having once you've been touched by that, somebody passing away who's so close to you, you know that it's a hard time, and being able to speak to those folks in that way, gives me a lot of joy.
Absolutely, man. And God bless you on that. If you were to look back, if a young lawyer came into your law office today, or the younger you, what would you tell that young individual, or the younger you, the things you know now that you didn't know then?
When I first became a lawyer, it was a very stressful experience. There's a lot of deadlines, a lot of work that can come up, and a lot of adversarial nature that can come up in these cases. And so at the time, when I first became a lawyer, I was thinking, is this even what I want to do? And a lot of young lawyers think that when they come out of law school. You can go on Reddit and you'll see like a bunch of lawyers talking about, should I even be a lawyer? And a lot of them are young lawyers. So what I would tell myself is, it's a good career. You can really make a difference in people's lives, and you will learn how to manage the stresses that come from being a lawyer.
Well said. Well said. How do people? How do you get your business? What type of advertising? How do you get out there? Are you doing digital? How many cases are you doing per month?
Yeah, so we are a smaller firm. We're not a volume-based practice. We primarily focus on a select number of cases that we then work up and try to get a maximum results for folks. Most of my cases come kind of two ways. One is referrals from other lawyers, people that have a specific type of case that needs, more of an expertise. Truck accident cases, medical malpractice cases, wrongful death cases, things like that. We'll team up with them on them. And then the other way is through folks finding us, online. So we've got a Google presence. We've got some social media videos out there. We're involved in our local community, so people hear about us that way, kind of word of mouth. So it's sort of those two ways.
Very nice. Very nice. And if someone wants to get a hold of you, how do they find you?
I try to make myself pretty easy to find. So you can Google me, Alex Weatherby. I'll pop up. We're Weatherby Law or Weatherby Law Firm on every type of social media. Our website's weatherbylawfirm.com. As I tell folks, that's like how you like the weather outside plus BY. So.
Oh, very nice. And I saw through all this, with your wife being in the mental health space and you coming from the mental space, I saw that you guys just recently have merged your businesses together.
Yeah, so we're still separate businesses, but we're in the same building now. So we bought a building in Decatur, which is a small suburb right outside of Atlanta. And we've got an old home that's been renovated into offices. Nice. So it's really nice. It's been great to be able to cultivate a warm, welcoming space for our clients, for each of our businesses.
That's beautiful, man. Well, man, thank you so much for being on the Loudr Lawyer Network. The world needs more human beings like you, and be praying for you, man.
All right, man. I appreciate it. It's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thanks for being a part of the Loudr Lawyer Network. If you're enjoying the conversation, let us know. Give us a like and subscribe to never miss a thing. We'll see you next time right here on the Loudr Lawyer Network.